Every morning, you wake up with two choices. You can wake up by accident, or you can wake up with intention. Most people don't lose their direction in life because they lack talent. They lose direction because they lack clarity. They wake up to alarms they hate. They scroll through lives they envy. They rush into days they didn't design. And slowly, without realizing it, they begin to feel disconnected from their goals, from their energy, and from themselves. That's why the most powerful habit you can build is also the simplest one. Start every day by reconnecting with your why. Your why is not your job title. It's not your salary. It's not your to-do list. Your why is the reason you get out of bed even when it's hard. It's the deeper purpose behind your effort. It's the meaning that fuels your resilience, because when life gets difficult, and it will, discipline alone won't always be enough. Motivation will fade, energy will drop, but purpose endures. When you know your why, your actions stop feeling like obligations and start feeling like commitments. Instead of saying, "I have to work today," you begin to say, "I get to build something that matters." Instead of saying, "I have to study," you begin to say, "I'm preparing for the life I want to live." Instead of saying, "I have to keep going," you begin to say, "I refuse to quit because this means something to me." That shift changes everything. Starting your morning with your why does not require an hour-long ritual. It requires honesty. It requires stillness. It requires intention. It might look like asking yourself simple questions. Why am I pursuing this goal? Who am I doing this for? What kind of person am I becoming through this journey? What impact do I want to leave behind? These questions are not comfortable, but they are transformative. Because when you begin to live from the inside out instead of from external pressure, you stop chasing validation and start building alignment. You stop trying to impress others. You start trying to honor your values, and when your actions align with your values, something incredible happens. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to believe in yourself. You begin to show up differently. Purpose is not loud. It doesn't scream. It whispers, but if you listen carefully, it will guide every decision you make. It will guide what you say yes to. It will guide what you say no to. It will guide where you invest your time. It will guide how you treat others. It will guide who you become. Without purpose, success feels empty. With purpose, even struggle feels meaningful. And here's the truth many people miss. You don't need to have your entire life figured out to start with your why. Your why can be simple. I want to make my family proud. I want to break the cycle I came from. I want to grow into the best version of myself. I want my life to matter. I want to help people who feel unseen. These are powerful reasons. These are enough. The goal is not perfection. The goal is direction. When you start each day with your why, you stop drifting. You stop living on autopilot. You stop reacting to life, you begin leading yourself, and leadership always begins with clarity. After 30 days of waking up with intention, something shifts. Your mornings feel different, your focus feels sharper, your effort feels meaningful, your confidence feels grounded. Not because your circumstances changed overnight, but because you did. You no longer wake up wondering what the day will demand of you. You wake up knowing what you stand for, and that is where real transformation begins, not in grand gestures, not in sudden breakthroughs, but in the quiet daily decision to live with purpose, every morning, every choice. Every step, that is how you change your life. Most people wait for motivation before they begin. They wait to feel ready. They wait for the perfect moment. They wait for the right mood, and while they wait, days pass, weeks pass. Months pass, opportunities pass, because the uncomfortable truth is this: motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days you feel unstoppable, some days you feel exhausted, some days you feel inspired, some days you feel stuck. If your progress depends on how you feel, then your progress will always be inconsistent. That's why real change is not built on motivation. It's built on discipline. It's built on habits. It's built on small actions repeated every single day. Small actions don't look powerful in the moment, they look ordinary, almost insignificant. 10 minutes of reading, a short workout, one honest conversation, one page written, one difficult decision. These actions feel too small to matter. But that's the illusion, because what people underestimate is not the power of big actions, it's the power of consistency. A single workout won't transform your body, but 30 workouts will. A single page of reading won't transform your mind, but 30 pages will. A single act of courage won't change your life, but 30 acts of courage will. Progress doesn't come from what you do occasionally. It comes from what you do repeatedly. Consistency is not exciting. It's not glamorous. It doesn't get applause. But it works. Every day you show up, even when you don't feel like it, you are casting a vote for the person you want to become. When you read daily, you are voting for the identity of a learner. When you train daily, you are voting for the identity of someone disciplined. When you create daily, you are voting for the identity of a builder. When you try daily, you are voting for the identity of someone who refuses to give up. Over time, these votes shape your identity, and once your identity changes, your behavior becomes effortless. You stop saying, "I'm trying to be consistent." You start saying, "This is just who I am." That is how transformation actually happens. Not through massive breakthroughs, but through micro commitments. The problem is that we live in a culture addicted to intensity. People want fast results, instant success, overnight change, but sustainable growth has always followed the same formula: slow, steady, repetitive. Think of how trust is built, not through one grand gesture, but through consistent reliability. Think of how confidence is built, not through one victory, but through repeated effort. Think of how mastery is built, not through one moment of brilliance, but through daily practice. The same principle applies to every area of life. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in one day. You just need to start small and stay faithful to it. 5 minutes is enough to begin. One habit is enough to begin. One commitment is enough to begin, because consistency compounds. At first, you won't see results, and that's where most people quit. They say, "It's not working." They say, "I'm not seeing progress." They say, "Maybe this isn't for me." But what they don't realize is this: the results are happening beneath the surface before they appear on the surface. Just like roots grow underground before a tree grows upward, your discipline grows internally before your success becomes visible externally. If you stay consistent long enough, something shifts. Your effort becomes easier. Your identity becomes stronger. Your confidence becomes deeper. You no longer need motivation. Momentum takes over, and once momentum begins, stopping becomes harder than continuing. That's the power of small daily actions, not dramatic, not flashy, not impressive at first glance, but unstoppable over time. So don't ask yourself, "Can I do something big today?" Ask yourself, "Can I do something small today that I can repeat tomorrow?" Because success is not built in intensity. It's built in consistency. And if you commit to showing up daily, even imperfectly, even quietly, even without recognition, then after 30 days, you won't just see change. You'll become change. Think about how carefully you protect your phone. You use a password. You use a fingerprint. You update security. You worry when you lose it. You panic when the battery dies, because you understand something. What goes into your phone determines how well it works. Yet, every single day, many people hand their minds open access. They allow negativity to enter. They allow comparison to take root. They allow doubt to grow. They allow criticism to echo. They allow distractions to dominate. And then they wonder why they feel anxious. Why they feel unmotivated, why they feel unfocused, why they feel overwhelmed. Your mind works the same way your phone does. What you allow in determines what you get out. If you constantly consume negativity, your thinking becomes negative. If you constantly consume chaos, your thinking becomes scattered. If you constantly consume comparison, your self-worth begins to erode. This is not weakness, this is programming. The mind absorbs what it repeatedly experiences. That is why protecting your mental environment is not optional. It is essential because every thought you think, every belief you hold, and every emotion you experience begins with what you allow into your mind. The content you watch, the conversations you entertain, the voices you listen to, the stories you repeat to yourself, all of it shapes you. Most people focus on upgrading their phones every year, but they never upgrade the information they feed their minds. They scroll endlessly through content that drains them. They compare their behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reels. They absorb fear, outrage, and insecurity without questioning it, and slowly, without realizing it, their confidence shrinks. Their attention weakens, their clarity disappears, not because they are incapable, but because their minds are overloaded with noise. Protecting your mind begins with awareness. You start noticing, how does this content make me feel? Does this conversation elevate me or drain me? Does this environment strengthen me or weaken me? Does this thought empower me or limit me? These are not small questions, they are life-shaping questions, because when you become intentional about what enters your mind, you begin to regain control of your inner world. You stop mindlessly consuming, you start consciously choosing. You choose books that challenge your thinking. You choose podcasts that expand your perspective. You choose conversations that encourage growth. You choose environments that support your goals. And just as importantly, you learn to set boundaries, you limit exposure to negativity, you step away from constant comparison. You reduce time and spaces that make you feel smaller. You distance yourself from voices that reinforce self-doubt. This is not selfish. This is self-leadership, because if you do not protect your mind, the world will fill it for you. And the world does not always have your growth in mind. One of the most powerful things you can do for your mental health and your personal growth is to become the curator of your own input. Curate what you watch, curate what you listen to, curate what you read, curate who gets access to your attention. Attention is your most valuable currency. What you give your attention to, you give your life to. When you feed your mind with clarity, your thinking becomes clearer. When you feed your mind with positivity, your outlook becomes stronger. When you feed your mind with purpose, your actions become more intentional. And over time, this creates a profound shift. You begin to notice that you are calmer, you are more focused, you are less reactive, you are more confident, not because your problems disappeared, but because your inner environment became stronger. Mental discipline creates emotional resilience when challenges arise, and they will. You don't collapse under pressure. You respond with clarity, you respond with perspective, you respond with strength, all because you trained your mind daily through what you allowed into it. If you commit to protecting your mind for 30 days, something changes. You begin to hear your own voice more clearly. You begin to trust your own judgment more deeply. You begin to think more intentionally. You don't feel as scattered. You don't feel as overwhelmed. You don't feel as controlled by external noise. You feel grounded because a protected mind becomes a powerful mind. A focused mind becomes a disciplined mind. A disciplined mind becomes a transformative force. Your mind is the foundation of everything you are building. Your goals, your relationships, your confidence, your future, protect it daily, feed it wisely, strengthen it intentionally. Because when you change what enters your mind, you change how you think. When you change how you think, you change how you live. And that is how real transformation begins. We live in a world obsessed with outcomes. We celebrate numbers. We chase achievements. We measure success in titles, followers, income, and recognition, and yet, when people reach the top of what they were chasing, many of them still feel empty. Not because they failed, but because they climbed alone, because somewhere along the way they forgot a simple truth: life is not built on results. It is built on relationships. Everything meaningful in your life is connected to people. Every opportunity you receive, every door that opens, every lesson that shapes you, every moment that changes you, behind each one there is a person. Yet too often we treat people as stepping stones instead of as human beings. We network instead of connect. We transact instead of relate. We focus on what we can get instead of who we can become for others. But real growth does not happen through manipulation. It happens through trust. It happens through sincerity. It happens through care. If you want to change your life in 30 days, don't start by chasing more success. Start by becoming a better human being in your relationships, because when relationships grow stronger, everything else grows stronger too. Think about the people who have made the greatest impact in your life. They are not the ones who impressed you the most. They are the ones who believed in you the most. They are the ones who listened to you. They are the ones who encouraged you. They are the ones who stood by you when you struggled. That's the power of human connection, and the beautiful thing is this: you have the ability to be that person for others every single day. You don't need influence, you don't need status, you don't need a platform, you just need intention. You can start by doing simple things, truly listening when someone speaks, remembering what matters to people, encouraging instead of criticizing, showing appreciation instead of assuming, offering kindness without expecting anything in return. These actions seem small, but they carry enormous weight, because people never forget how you made them feel. They may forget what you said, they may forget what you did, but they will always remember how you treated them. When you choose to build relationships before chasing results, something powerful begins to happen. Trust grows, respect deepens, connection strengthens, and where there is trust, opportunities follow naturally. Not because you force them, not because you chased them, but because people want to help those they feel connected to. This is how strong teams are built. This is how meaningful partnerships are formed. This is how leadership is developed. Leadership is not about authority, it's about service. The most impactful leaders are not those who demand the most. They are the ones who care the most. They notice people, they value people, they uplift people, they invest in people. And because of that, people choose to follow them not out of obligation, but out of trust. If you want to grow personally, professionally, emotionally, you must prioritize people. Because isolation limits growth, but connection multiplies it. Your ideas grow through conversation. Your confidence grows through encouragement. Your perspective grows through understanding others. Your character grows through serving others. Relationships shape who you become. And here's the part many people misunderstand. Building relationships is not about being liked by everyone. It's about being genuine with the people around you. It's about showing up consistently. It's about being honest. It's about being reliable. It's about being present. Presence is rare today. People are physically near, but mentally elsewhere. They listen to reply, not to understand. They talk, but they don't connect. But when you truly show up for people, when you give them your attention, your empathy, your respect, you separate yourself immediately. Because deep down, everyone wants the same thing: to be seen, to be heard, to be valued. And when you give people that gift, you create bonds that no achievement can replace. Over 30 days, if you commit to prioritizing relationships, you will notice a shift. Your conversations become deeper. Your connections become stronger. Your environment becomes more supportive. Your influence becomes more meaningful. Not because you chased people, but because you served them. Success built on relationships is sustainable. Success built without them is fragile, so invest in people, care deeply, listen fully, encourage sincerely. Because when you build relationships first, results don't need to be forced, they follow naturally. And in the end, the quality of your life will never be determined by what you achieve. It will be determined by the connections you nurture along the way. That is where real success lies. Most people don't repeat the same year once. They repeat it 10 times. Not because they are incapable of growth, but because they are unaware of their patterns. They move through life on autopilot. They rush from one day to the next. They stay busy, but never intentional. They stay active, but never aware. And without awareness, there is no growth. There is only repetition. That's why daily reflection is not just a habit. It is a turning point. Reflection is the moment you pause long enough to ask yourself, who am I becoming? What am I learning? What am I repeating? What needs to change? Because growth does not come from experience alone. Growth comes from evaluated experience. You can go through challenges and never evolve. You can make mistakes and never learn. You can stay busy and still stay stuck, but when you reflect, something shifts. You stop living unconsciously. You start living deliberately. Every evening gives you an opportunity to look honestly at your day, to own your actions, to understand your emotions, to refine your direction. And this honesty is not always comfortable, but it is always powerful. Reflection asks questions most people avoid. Did I act in alignment with my values today? Did I speak with intention or with impulse? Did I grow today, or did I simply exist? Did I move closer to the person I want to become? These questions do not judge you, they guide you, because self-awareness is the foundation of transformation. Without reflection, you blame the world. With reflection, you take responsibility. Without reflection, you repeat patterns. With reflection, you break them. Without reflection, you drift. With reflection, you lead yourself. The most successful individuals are not perfect, but they are aware, they know their strengths, they recognize their weaknesses. They study their behavior, they learn from their experiences, and that awareness gives them control. Reflection doesn't require hours of journaling or complex rituals. It can begin with just 5 honest minutes a day. You might ask yourself, what went well today? Where did I fall short today? What did today teach me? How can I show up better tomorrow? Simple questions, profound impact, because when you ask these questions consistently, you begin to see patterns. You begin to notice triggers. You begin to understand your habits. You begin to recognize what fuels you and what drains you. And with that understanding comes power. You no longer feel confused about why you feel the way you feel. You no longer feel stuck in behaviors you don't understand. You begin to take ownership of your growth. Reflection turns pain into wisdom. It turns mistakes into lessons. It turns confusion into clarity. Think about this. A person who reflects grows daily. A person who does not reflect stays the same, even while time passes. Time alone does not change you, awareness does. If you never pause to evaluate your life, you will wake up years later wondering where the time went. But if you reflect daily, every day becomes a step forward, and here's the deeper truth. Reflection strengthens your relationship with yourself. You begin to understand your motivations, you begin to respect your boundaries, you begin to trust your inner voice. You begin to live with integrity because you are no longer disconnected from your own experience. You are present within it. When you reflect daily, you stop running from discomfort. You start learning from it. You stop hiding from mistakes. You start growing through them. You stop fearing honesty. You start embracing growth. And over 30 days, this practice begins to reshape you. You become calmer. You become more grounded. You become more intentional. You become more self-aware. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you become wiser. Reflection doesn't change your circumstances overnight. It changes how you respond to them, and that changes everything. You begin to make better decisions. You begin to communicate more thoughtfully. You begin to act more consistently with your values. You begin to live with purpose instead of impulse. That is the quiet power of daily reflection. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't seek recognition. It works silently, deeply, steadily, but its impact is undeniable because the person who reflects daily is not living accidentally. They are living intentionally. They are shaping their character. They are refining their direction. They are designing their future. So if you want real change, lasting change, don't just live your days. Study them, learn from them, grow through them. Ask yourself every night, who was I today? Who do I want to be tomorrow? And then let that answer guide your growth. That is how transformation happens, not all at once, but one honest moment of reflection at a time.